Be very, very quiet. I'm reading an audiobook. Hello, welcome to my channel. Another bibliophile reads. My name is Greg, and today I want to throw another video into the ring about an age-old subject. Does listening to an audiobook count as reading? When people argue that listening to an audiobook doesn't count as reading, they often think they're making a common sense point. But what they're really doing, usually without realizing it, is making a linguistic argument. Verb neutrality versus mood or method-specific verbs. In English, read and listen are method-specific verbs. Reading is defined as taking in words with your eyes. Listening is defined as taking in words with your ears. So if you listen to an audiobook, the argument goes, you can't say you've read the book because the verb itself seems to forbid it. Now here's the problem. English has no neutral verb for taking in the words of a book, regardless of method. Let me give you some other verbs as an example. Last week, I went to New York City. It just says that I went to New York City. There is no method implied in the verb went. I can also say that I traveled to New York City. I could say I journeyed to New York City. So whether you say I went, I traveled, or I journeyed to New York City, there is no implied method of journeying or how I got to New York City. But there are other verbs I could have used. I could have said I drove to New York City. That implies I took a car. I could say I flew to New York City. That implies I took an airplane. I could say I walked to New York City. I bicycled to New York City. If you're really weird, you could say, I crawled to New York City. I'm sure there's lots of other verbs that will imply different methods of getting to New York City. But those are all method-specific verbs. They say how you got to New York City as a part of the verb. But there is, as I said, no neutral method for reading a book or how to get the words from a book into your head. So we have to fake it. We have to say, I read the audiobook. And some people will go, no, you did not read while listening to an audiobook. You listened to that audiobook. But in the end, whether you read the book with your eyes or listen to the audiobook with your ears, you are still completing the book. You're taking in the words that were written down by the author and sticking them in your brain. And digging a little deeper, maybe the real issue isn't just vocabulary, it's folks' theories of reading. Some people instinctively or obstinately assume that if you read with your eyes, you are somehow superior to listening with your ears when taking in the text of a book. That they think that eye reading with eye movement is active and that listening is a passive way to take in the book. Now, I can tell you there have been times in the past when I have been reading a book with my eyes and my eyes just take in the text. My brain is not processing it. It all flows in one eyeball into my brain and doesn't stick. Now, it is also possible to listen to an audiobook and not understand the text. The words go in through the ears and do not take up a residence in the brain. And when that happens with your eyes, you have to go back to the page where you last started understanding the text. And with the audiobook, you have to go back to the point where you were listening and still understanding. But the thing is that listening does not necessarily have to be a completely passive event. You can be actively taking in those words through your ears and completely and totally engaging with the text. The same as with reading with your eyeballs. So why is it that some people believe that reading with your eyeballs is superior to listening with your ears? There's lots of different arguments. One of the arguments that I frequently hear is from some people, well, you can't annotate with an audiobook. And if you're not annotating a book, you're not really reading. I think that's a lot of horse crap. I think you can read a book without annotating and still be reading the book, fully engaged in the book. And why, yes, it is much harder to stop an audiobook and take notes of what you've listened to. I don't think that is really a valid argument for saying that listening does not count as reading. But the most common reason I hear from people is that they say when you listen to an audiobook, you are listening to an interpretation. The reader is interpreting the text for you, and you are not making all the decisions of the words or what you read in the words by yourself. I guess that is sort of true. An audiobook narrator is interpreting the text for you. But have you ever read a book in translation? Let's just hold up the Iliad by Homer. And I picked this because there's almost no native ancient Greek speakers in the world. Or to say, there really are no native ancient Greek speakers in the world. It is a language that you have to study to learn. And if you want to read the Iliad in its original language, you'll have to study ancient Greek or pick up a translation. And is picking up a translation of the Iliad all that bad? Yes, different translations will be a little bit different, but they're still coming from the same text. A good translator will get the essence of ancient Greek and give it to your modern English reader, or if you're reading a French translation, you will get it in French or Spanish or whatever language the book Iliad is being translated into. So translations, while yes, they are interpretations, I think they're incredibly valid and important for a lot of readers. And reading books in translation, in my opinion, is very important. There are many languages out there. There are many great books in a language that you will never read, unless, of course, you're Richard Burton, the Victorian explorer, who knew like 30 languages. There are very few people like that in this world, so translation is important. Now, there are a few rare readers who say, I don't want to read a translation. That translation is an interpretation. I don't want interpretations. Well, okay. Well, in that case, you're probably not going to be reading the Iliad. You're probably not going to be reading Crime and Punishment and many other foreign language books. That is your choice. But there are also many other types of interpretations of books that maybe you have read. Have you ever read the original spelling of William Shakespeare? Because almost all modern editions of Shakespeare modernize the spelling. Is the spelling an interpretation from the original? Yes, I say it is. Someone has gone through the text and decided this word is going to be spelled this way. It's not a huge interpretation, but it is an interpretation. Are you going to say that you have not read Shakespeare because you've read the modern spelling edition? I don't think anyone would fall for that argument, but that's just me. So in the end, what can be done with this problem of the missing verb? How do you get a non-method specific verb to describe how a person understands the words in a book? There are many examples of people trying different words. I consumed the book. I experienced the book, and so forth. Those words just don't fit. They do not. I think the verb to read can be adapted to be used as a non-method specific verb. Already the verb to read does have some other interpretations that does not include looking at text on a page and bringing it into your brain. For example, I could say, I read the room. What that means is, as an observer, you look at the room and judge what's going on in there. You're not actually reading text. You're reading faces, atmosphere, and other things. That's not really reading per se. So in the end, I think I'm just going to say, I read the audiobook. The people who are fussy about how I'm using my verb, well, they're still going to be fussy until they're no longer fussy. Thank you for watching, and keep on reading, print or audiobooks.